understanding is that local legislation cannot supersede national legislation when it comes to national security issues. It's a terrible thing for the city of Boston. It introduces new and novel dangers to the citizenry under conditions in which they cannot ensure their own security, and it brings them hardly any benefits. They won't be employed dealing with the real diseases that afflict our population, not HIV, not tuberculosis, not cancer, not Alzheimer's disease. Right? They're a nightmare from a public health point of view. And the mechanism of the safety is that everybody who lives in the community is under medical surveillance, right? So when somebody gets the sniffles and goes to the physician knows to check whether this might be associated with a release from the facility. That can't possibly happen in this part of Boston, where half the people don't even have health insurance, and when they get sick, they don't go to any physician. But right now, the people who control it are the officials at Boston University, who already failed to reveal when 3 of their people were infected with tularemia, which is a biological weapons agent. Well, it was outrageous. I mean, tularemia is an agent that was long. The reason it's under study is not because it's a major infectious agent in the U.S. population, it's because it was a model for biological weapons. The moment there was any hint that the investigators working with those agents came down with anything, that should have been reported. It's striking that they covered it up during the period when there was a public debate over this, and where BU officials were claiming that there had never been an accident of this sort at Boston University. The track record is clear. They're not responsible. They were not truthful in public. And I don't see a shred of evidence that they can be trusted. I don't know what the technical term is. I mean, they were certainly lying, deeply misleading the public.
Currently, only 5 sets of biological agents are assigned to biosafety level 4. They are the hemorrhagic fever viruses, the group that includes Ebola and Marburg, tick-borne encephalitis viruses, Hendra viruses, hantaviruses, and circopithecine herpes virus. Outside the context of bioterrorism or biowarfare, these are not important systems for public health in the United States. During the Bush administration, the fraction of NIH infectious disease resources assigned to biodefense has increased from less than 2% to more than 35%, very nearly 40%. To put this in perspective, this represents a larger budget appropriation for biodefense than for AIDS and HIV research. Furthermore, this represents a larger budget appropriation for biodefense than for all other infectious disease apart from AIDS combined. So the important point to emphasize is that in contrast to chemical weapons and nuclear weapons, biological weapons involve self-replicating materials. As a result, a single viral particle or a single bacterial cell removed from a facility can provide a seed stock from which to prepare an effectively unlimited quantity of that virus or that bacterium. The removal of a single viral particle, the removal of a single bacterial cell cannot be detected by any current technical means, and it cannot be prevented by any current technical means. The Biosafety Level 4 expansion will entail 500 to 1,000 personnel with registered access to Biosafety Level 4 agents. The probability of a deliberate release from one such person being disgruntled, disturbed, or an adherent of a terrorist organization is significant. A significant fraction of the research that will be carried out in the Biosafety Level 4 laboratories will be threat assessment. Threat assessment, as applied to the area of bioweapons agents, involves the intentional engineering of bioweapons agents with enhanced virulence or with resistance to countermeasures. There are no Biosafety Level 4 facilities in caves in Afghanistan. There are no Biosafety Level 4 facilities in basements in the United States. There is no threat, none, zero, of development of next-generation Biosafety Level 4 agents by a sub-state adversary, a terrorist organization, or a terrorist individual. Therefore, in carrying out the threat assessment at Biosafety Level 4, we are conducting an arms race against ourselves.
Initially, when this subject came up, I was a proponent of this laboratory. And the reason is because I thought there was a need to do important scientific work on the most dangerous emerging infectious diseases. This is really a biodefense research and development facility. So even our most secure laboratories like Fort Detrick, where biowarfare agents are investigated, they've had accidents there in which laboratory workers have gotten sick or sometimes even died. It's also true that SARS got out of a level 4 laboratory in Taiwan. Accidents not only happen in laboratories, but they happen not that infrequently. Microorganisms travel on social networks. All right, if they get out of this laboratory, they can go anywhere on a person and anybody that person has contact with, from their companions on the Silver Line all the way out to the commuter rail, all the way out to Lexington and Concord. No matter how secure the facility is physically, there's always the human element, and it's the human element that always trips you up. So let's imagine now what is going to happen in this laboratory. Put yourself in one of the conference rooms where the scientists are sitting around the table, and one of them says, boy, wouldn't it be terrible if some terrorist made a cross between HIV and influenza? Oh my God, what would we do? And what's the first step in that research agenda? The first step in that research agenda is you have to make the organism in order to do all the rest of it. Now the only question is, how would they manage to get it out of the laboratory? And one can imagine all sorts of scenarios where that might happen. And if you look at that from the outside, even if you're one of our allies, you'll wonder about this. You'll wonder, gee, this looks like it could be part of an offensive biological weapons facility. And what's their response going to be? Their response is going to be to counter it by building their own facility. And we're going to be feeding and stimulating a biological arms race here. And that's not going to make anybody on the face of this earth safer.
My name is Lynn Klotz. I was formerly a faculty member at Harvard University Biochemistry and Molecular Biology and have been in the biotechnology business ever since then. I am actually spend a good deal of my time these days working with the Center for Arms Control and Non-Proliferation Scientists Working Group on Biological and Chemical Weapons. Well, if you hear the BU people speak, they claim that they're going to mainly work on naturally occurring infectious diseases, but yet they will say that they will be doing biodefense work as well. I don't know what proportion of what. My thought is they're going to be doing biological weapons work more heavily than they say.